Welcome, everybody. John Arvosis here to talk to you about Ukraine and the latest news from that fair land. How's everybody doing? Gonna get my little. Let's see if TikTok's working tonight. I think TikTok's going to be evil on us tonight, but let's see. Is TikTok going to work? Oh, TikTok, don't be evil. Don't be evil, TikTok. Come on. Oh, well, I'm just waiting here to see if TikTok starts. I'm not convinced it will. Anyway. Oh, TikTok. Well, it looks like it's working, actually. Am I crazy? Anybody see what's going on TikTok? Because at least on my end, it claims it's streaming, but I'm not seeing it anywhere. Oh, TikTok, why are you so evil? Anyway, hey, everybody. Yeah, I'm not sure TikTok's going to go live. I think TikTok totally screwed up. I hate them sometimes. Oh, God. Anyway, is anybody over on TikTok? Is it actually working or no? Because I'm not seeing anything live over there, but at the same time, it shows me I'm broadcasting. The event has ended because TikTok is freaking evil. Oh, whatever. They're evil. Nothing we can do about it. Well, there's no way to start the event again. But the funny part is it even claims I'm streaming, which is really funny, but clearly it's not. Oh, well. Oh, TikTok. We hate you sometimes. Anyway, well, you guys got me tonight. Hopefully the TikTokers know to come over. Oh, they drive me crazy. Yeah. Anyway, what do you do? What do you do? So yes, does Syndicate have a new username or, oh yeah, Syndicate's who's Syndicate now? He's like Carmen Sandiego. Anyway, guys, thanks for joining us. As always, we'll maybe wait a minute and then I can dive right in and maybe the TikTokers will figure out to come over here. Exactly. Hi, Nancy. Yeah, TikTok was being evil tonight. Who knows? Who knows? I don't even try. But once TikTok like dies, then there's no way for me to get it back. So it's gone, even though it says I'm streaming over there. But as we said, it's definitely not. I can see it. It's not live. It is not live. Nope. All right. TikTok's evil. All right. I'm going to just end that stream then. All right. TikTok. Anywho, hello, Radoslav from Bulgaria. How are you guys doing? Well, we'll give it another minute then, since we're going a little slow tonight without the TikTokers. Actually, I'm going to look and see. I don't think it's going to let me. No, it's not going to let me. I don't know. No, it was just being crazy. It was just TikTok's being nuts. I launched it. It said it wasn't launched it. I tried to launch it again. Then it said it ended, which then wiped it out. So in any case, I'm going to keep talking. And when more people join us and say TikTok isn't working, you guys can just fill them in on TikTok being evil. Anyway, we've got a lot of interesting topics today. Yes, TikTok is just pissing me off as always. I've got a new guest to let you know about, and you will see it scheduled on TikTok. And boy, I'll be pissed if they do one of these when I have a guest scheduled. And you will see it scheduled on YouTube as well, all the other services. Saturday at 6 p.m. because that's a time that worked for both of us. Iranian, I believe he's an Iranian American. Professor from Colgate University, Shervin Malekzadeh, is going to be coming to talk to us about the protests in Iran. And as a university professor, he is especially interested in the history of all of it, the history of Iran going back 100 years and all sorts of, the basis of all of this happening and where we go from here and whether there's even any hope. I think my suspicion is he's probably concerned about where things go from here. But he should be really good. So make sure you make a note of it. It'll be a special Saturday show since normally I'm taking the weekends off. But that will be Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Again, you can find it listed on TikTok and you can find it in YouTube and everything else. I've already got it listed. Otherwise, Discord auction results. I don't know if I told you. Did I tell you that Lily won the patches? So Lily, congratulations. I sent those off. We have the auction up still for the Navy Beret badge. And this is all on Discord. And I've got a new auction up. Let me show you the new stuff that's up for the auction because I tried at least two at once. One of the Ukrainian shirts that Vlad sent over. This is a really nice one. I do like this one a lot. It's unisex, 100% cotton, 95% cotton, 5% spandex. They call it elastine or something funny like that, but it's spandex lycra. And I tried it on over my shirt. It is clearly a men's medium American because I'm a medium and it fit me perfectly. But I think the cut is very unisex, I would say. Anyway, and the other thing is I also threw in for good measure, you can see in the bottom left, one of the Ukrainian patches. That's one of the trident patches that the soldiers wear on their shoulders. Vlad actually even showed me one of those on their biceps, basically, or their tricep, I guess. So I will take that off. You can access all of that on my Discord, discord.aravosis.com. And wouldn't that be fabulous? Also, thanks to James from the UK for becoming our latest VIP member on Discord. Those are the paying members who help keep Sasha in the living in the style to which she has become accustomed. So anyway, if you guys can help out there, I appreciate it. As always, I'll put this up briefly, but you know the drill. We can mention it later on. If you can help me out, I appreciate it. As I said, I'm trying to make this a full-time gig. It is a full-time gig, but I'm trying to keep it as a full-time gig. And that means being able to afford my bills. So if you can, especially, I would say, especially on the Discord, anybody who's on the Discord, if you can afford becoming a paid member now, I would appreciate it. If you're hanging out there, if you can. Otherwise, the super chat questions help me a lot with you guys here. I was going to say TikTok, but they're gone today. TikTok's on vacation today because TikTok's being evil. But lots of other ways you can help, donations directly. And finally, I keep forgetting to put it up there. The best way to find the list of options you can help out and also get involved is just going to my linked tree, which is aravosis.com. So if you go to aravosis.com, it'll take you to the link tree. You'll see the store, you'll see the Discord, you'll find all that stuff. So there you go. And actually, we'll do another Discord after when we finish tonight, since in honor of TikTok not being with us. God, it annoys me. Oh, they just try to piss me off. Anyway, let's get rolling here. So the U.S. announced today that we are going to be sending 18 more HIMARS rocket launch systems to Ukraine. As you know, they've got 16 HIMARS to date. They've got 11 MLRS, multiple launch rocket system as well, which are similar to the HIMARS, really. So that's about 27 of those kind of systems. We're going to provide another 18, which is huge. The only downside is I was looking through one of the articles and it said, it will provide for the production and delivery of 18 HIMARS over the next 2 years. So who the hell, I mean, I got excited with everybody else over the next 2 years. I don't know what the hell that means. Actually, what it means is some of the HIMARS maybe we're not sending until they get made, which might not be for a long time. Some of the HIMARS, we might be sending the ones we have in our inventory, but we don't want to necessarily get rid of too many of them because we need them too. So I would say this was a cluster F of a messaging thing from the Biden administration, because if you're going to put out and say we're sending 18 HIMARS, everyone's going to go, yay! You don't throw in and sometime over the next 2 years, because then everyone goes, so are they coming or not? I don't know. That's not smart. The pipeline, I've got a good amount to talk to you about here about this pipeline. So the pipeline thing is very interesting. Biden sigh. That's exactly how I feel, PB&J. He does good things, but he still makes me sigh. Yep. Okay. Yes, there is an issue with TikTok today. Thank you for putting that up. So the pipeline, this has gotten more and more interesting. So there are two pipelines. There are multiple Russian pipelines bringing natural gas to Europe. Two of them were the Nord Stream pipelines. Now, actually, the Nord Stream pipelines were actually 4 pipelines, or they still are. Each one, Nord Stream 1 and Nord Stream 2, has like 2 pipelines as a part of it, okay? So the other day, 24 hours before, the Norwegians and the Poles are launching, basically announcing the launch of their new pipeline, their new gas pipeline, on the 27th, one day before on the 26th. Somehow, I'm going to pull this up so I get it exactly right. Somehow, Nord Stream 1 gets a leak. Okay? Wait, let me get this here. Was it Nord Stream 1 or I'm already going to mix them up. Bottom line is, one of within a period of a couple hours, there are 3 leaks in 3 different of the 2 pipelines. So each pipeline has 2 pipelines attached to it. So of the 4, 3 of the 4 get a leak within a couple hour period. So clearly somebody did it. The Swedes, I believe at the time, also noted an explosion. Their underwater sensors pick up. So clearly somebody bombed it. And according to, this was interesting, Washington Post says 5 European officials with direct knowledge of security discussions said it is widely assumed that Russia was responsible. The New York Times is reporting that the U.S. had warned the Europeans in June that we had intelligence of a possible risk to the pipeline, possible attack on the pipeline, but we didn't have any more details than that. Let's sort of go through this, okay? So Nord Stream 1. Nord Stream 1 is the one that the Russians had already cut off. This is the one with all the problems where, remember, the Russians are playing games with the Germans. And first they cut it back to like 60% capacity, then 40% capacity. Then they shut it off entirely for maintenance. Then when it came back from maintenance, it only could have 20% capacity. And then they just cut it off completely, right? So the Russians are clearly playing like cat and mouse games with the Germans, going, here, little Germans, right? We're going to cut off your gas. And if you don't do something, if you don't basically cave and cut off your sanctions, we're not going to give you any gas. At the same time, several months ago at the beginning of the war, the Germans, to their credit, Chancellor Scholz said that the Germans are not going to certify the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which was a new pipeline. It is a new pipeline. And he said, we're not going to open it. Biden was lobbying him pretty hard. And he said, we are not going to open that pipeline until, Ukraine is free. So that was great. So you've got both pipelines before the explosion are basically offline. I mean, they apparently had natural gas in them. I don't know why. Maybe you've got to keep gas in them to keep a positive pressure or some kind of thing. But neither was delivering gas to Europe. Okay. Then these 3 leaks, but these leaks are sort of catastrophic leaks that shut down the pipeline entirely. Okay. That's where we are. Now, let me sort of go through here. Russia has other pipelines, which it also uses to supply Poland, among others. Okay. It has, I think there's maybe even 2 there. One goes through Ukraine, one goes sort of elsewhere. The Russians were playing games with the Poles, including supply disruptions to the Poles. Same kind of thing, playing this cat and mouse thing with them. Unless they stop supporting Ukraine, the Poles had enough and decided they were going to get off of Russian natural gas entirely. They therefore turned to the Norwegians, and the Norwegians are instituting this new pipeline that's going. I think the first gas is going to be pumped maybe as early as this Saturday. So they decided to do 1, this new pipeline with the Norwegians. 2, a new liquid natural gas terminal, LNG, and 3. They've got some kind of a deal as well with the Lithuanians. All 3 of those together make the Poles now independent of Russia for getting natural gas. And I'm telling you all of this because trying to figure out who's behind this, okay? Obviously, Russia, not so thrilled that Poland is now independent. Well, Poland's independence helps who? Ukraine, because Ukraine gets some natural gas via Poland, or from Poland. Well, if Poland is able to get all of its natural gas without any disruptions from the Russians, then Ukraine can get all of its natural gas that it gets from Poland without disruptions, at least the disruptions it might have been worried about before. Okay? So lots of reasons why. Let me scroll ahead. I'm doing this from memory, but I think I've got it right. Lots of reasons why, like I said, the Russians not so happy about the Poles becoming energy independent. Then, as I said, so one day before the Baltic Pipe, it's called the Baltic Pipeline, Norway to Poland, opens, there's a leak in Nord Stream 2. Hours later, 2 more leaks are found in Nord Stream 1, right? So that's 3 within a matter of hours. Now, why would Russia do this? One, I think Daniel or somebody had brought it up yesterday, in order to tell the Europeans, we can go after your pipelines too. In order to tell the Norwegians, your pipeline, the new one you just opened, guess what? We can sabotage it too. We've got the ability to do it, right? So there's that aspect. Second of all, it's to keep sort of the energy markets screwed up and confused and worried, because the Norwegian pipeline might have added a little more stability to the energy markets, a little more stability of supply. Now there's instability of supply. Even the Norwegian market, even the Norwegian pipeline, people are going, is it going to get blown up or not, right? We don't know. 3, creating confusion and distrust. Something very interesting happened. I did a video, I think yesterday morning or so, about this issue, and the Russian trolls descended on my TikTok video. And it got a lot of views, 250,000 views, which was great for a TikTok video. But the trolls were going crazy. And again, which we've always talked about, I always tell you guys, one quick way to know a Russian troll, meaning somebody who's basically hired by the Russians to promote disinformation. One of the great ways you can tell that they're Russian agents, but some of these Russian agents could be kids being paid in Africa to do it. They're not all, KGB or whatever, right? FSB. But they're people working on behalf of Russia, is they all have the exact same talking point, even though they're from all over the world. So these guys were saying 2 things. Most of them were saying it was America. America did it, right? That's the first thing. Second of all, and they all kept saying this, Joe Biden said he was going to do this back in February. And at first I'm going, I'm thinking this is real, right? Like these aren't trolls. I'm like, Joe Biden definitely did not say he was going to blow up the Nord Stream pipeline. Yes, he did. And as soon as the yes, he did, then now you're like, okay, now it's clear we're dealing with Russians because again, and I also throw, our favorite president, as he calls himself, likes to do this too. You just deny everything, start a fight over any issue, and all of a sudden it gets confusing because one guy is saying, no, he didn't. The other guy's saying, yes, he did. And people watching in the middle are going, well, I don't know. I mean, I heard Biden might have said he was going to blow it up, but then some other people said it wasn't true. Now it gets confusing, right? Well, Biden, I should have pulled up the tape for you guys. Biden and I'm sitting here going, what are they talking about? They're talking about the press conference that Biden held with Chancellor Scholz in Washington. I remember the press conference because I remember that I think the German press was pressing Scholz pretty hard on what he was going to do about Nord Stream 2, and he wasn't really answering. Then they asked Biden about it, and Biden gave kind of a stronger answer and said, yeah, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, basically. And so what the Russians are now claiming, their trolls, is Biden said in February that he was going to bomb the Nord Stream 2 pipeline because Biden said we're going to put an end to the pipeline. It's not going to happen if they invade and they don't pull out. So that's what Biden said. That's what they're right. But basically, all these commenters are saying the same thing. Then it gets even better, and they all start having the Biden quote that they're all using. And again, Nigerians, Canadians, Israelis, and they're all using the same Biden quote. You're like, dude. Okay, give me a break, right? So there's that. So that's one reason the Russians would perhaps want to do this, want to blow it up, because they want to seed this distrust and confusion and possibly, do some kind of schism between America and Europe. Second of all, they started blaming Poland. This was a lesser troll talking point, but many of them did. A Polish member of parliament, a former Polish member of parliament named Sikorski, congratulated Joe Biden today on blowing up the pipeline. And I'm like, sure he did. And that proves that they were working together. Yes, Joe Biden got together with a former Polish member of parliament and schemed up a plan to blow up a pipeline. Anyways, my point here is it is certainly possible that the Russians are simply trying to take advantage of it. And that they weren't behind blowing it up. And they simply said, hey, somebody blew it up. Let's blame America. That always works. And let's blame Poland. That always works. Or it's possible that that's another reason why Russia did it, because they saw this was another advantage, right? Poland, by the way, why Poland? The Russians have not been happy that Poland has been a big defender of Ukraine. I mean, huge defender of Ukraine. And the Russians have been saying for a while now, since the war started, that my whisper again, Poland is secretly planning to annex Ukraine. The only reason Poland is involved is because Poland is going to invade from the west and take half of Ukraine. And it was like, sure. Yeah, sure they are. There were some documents yesterday that the Russians apparently the Russians did forge that came public that was just secret Polish documents discussing the annexation of Ukraine. I mean, this is what they're doing. So, this is what Russia's about. What do you do, right? What do you do? In any case, so that's kind of where we are. I guess the final thing is, it is certainly possible that the Russians also think, I saw this analysis on Twitter and I wasn't totally convinced, but it's possible, that the Russians are convinced that somehow this screws up the Germans, that somehow it makes it even harder for the, oh, I know what it was. I think it was, I don't even know what it was actually. I don't know, but somehow this puts more pressure on the Germans. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure. In any case, oh, Syndicate, I see what you did. Thank you. You did an auto repeat. That was great. Thank you for that. So anyway, a German newspaper that I'm not familiar with, unless this is a different time of day Spiegel, Der Tagesspiegel. I'm guessing is Tages like afternoon or something like that. Anyway, they're saying that the damage to the Nord Stream pipelines is likely irreplaceable if it is not fixed soon. If the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines are not attended to immediately, salt water will quickly erode the insides, they wrote, citing unnamed high-ranking German officials. So, the Daily. Oh, so is Daily Spiegel, but are they related to Der Spiegel? Or is Spiegel just like a word in German you can use no matter where you are? In any case, there you go. That's what they said. On to the sham election. So the Russians, as you know, were holding these sham elections and I will show you again, in the 4 Ukrainian provinces, oblasts that they are occupying currently: Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, and Luhansk. The Russians control most of Kherson, some, maybe half, a little more than half of Zaporizhia, maybe half plus of Donetsk, and most of Luhansk, but losing a little bit every day. And they were holding sham fake referendums for about 5 days, asking the locals, do you want to become a part of Russia? Yes, yes, yes. And of course, doing it at gunpoint. So of course, people were like, yes. And you will be surprised that the final results came out and they vary between, was it 87? Yeah, 87% in, I think, Kherson, up to 99% in Luhansk, saying, we want to be part of Russia. Of course, total BS. I mean, just total bullshit on its face, obviously. The thought is or was that Putin is likely to announce annexation on Friday when he is doing an event. I don't know if he's speaking to the Russian parliament or something like that, but the thought was that he's going to announce at that time the annexation. The only possible glitch there is Meduza, which is an independent Russian media outlet that's fairly reputable, is reporting, citing sources familiar with the matter, that the annexation of the Ukrainian territories in 4 regions will be postponed. The annexation will be postponed, as at the moment it will not have the desired public relations effect on the Russian population, which has been dissatisfied with the mobilization. Now, the other thing supposedly that's going to be postponed is they're going to postpone a ban on leaving the country for men of draft age. I mean, if both of those are true, okay, let's start with the draft age thing. The draft age thing is fascinating to me. Oh, shit, I'm already forgetting. Sorry. Ashley, sorry about that. You know what? I forgot. I had Ashley's question. We might as well bring it up before we talk about the draft age thing real quick. When Lend-Lease get them the good HIMARS, we don't know. I mean, the issue with the HIMARS, I mean, the HIMARS are the good HIMARS, so to speak. But, we gave them 16. It's not clear how they're coming, whether through the Lend-Lease or whatever it is. My guess is some of them are going to come from our stock that exist already. Other ones have to be made. And it's going to be, maybe the U.S. is, my guess is maybe the U.S. is budgeting it in finally. And rather than giving the Ukrainians 2 a month, and then, and remember, every 6 weeks or so, we say, oh, we're going to give them 2 more HIMARS. Maybe this is the administration's way of saying, every month we'll give them another 2. And we're going to budget it in. We're going to start a production. So we've got some of our own that we can give them for the next few months. And after, I don't know how long it takes to make a HIMARS, maybe 5 months, 6 months. After 6 months, then the production will have the first 2 additional ones due. And at 7 months, 2 more will be done in the production. That's my guess of what's going on. But again, they need to explain this. Otherwise, people will start scratching their head like you and I are doing and saying, did he screw this up or what's going on? Anyway, so back to this. So first of all, announcing that they're not going to ban the draft age men from leaving the country would be a huge deal. It means a lot of draft age men will leave the country, but it also means that the social unrest was getting so bad that they were afraid this would make it a lot worse. That's interesting. That's interesting to me. The idea of annexing having a bad PR effect, public relations effect on the Russian population, I don't understand. I just don't. I would think that annexing would have a good public relations effect because you could at least point to something you did. Now, possibly the bad public relations effect would be annexing and then losing those lands, right? Oops, sure my door shut. Would be annexing and then losing those lands. That would look really bad, right? If you got there and you said, okay, all of your sons died because, we needed to get these territories, but look, now we've got them. And in a month, you start losing those territories. And you've already told them that's why your kid died, was for the newly Russian territories that Russia's losing. And as I said yesterday, it's one thing for Russia to lose Ukrainian territory it's occupying. It's another thing for Russia to lose territory that Russia claims is Russia and now is a part of Russia, because then it's like you literally lost some of your own land, at least public relations wise. So I find that very interesting. I just find it very interesting. That is true, Justin. Yes, somebody had raised this. I think somebody raised that point yesterday. If you annex them, there's no reason for mobilization. Well, okay. Sorry. Two different things here. I'm not sure which way you're going with this, Justin. What some people said was, if you annex the lands, then the lands are Russia. So you no longer have the problem of conscripts not being able to serve outside of Russia unless there's a war declared, right? Because don't declare the war, and if you have conscripts, have a draft or whatever, you can send them to these new 4 territories because they're Russia. Now, if you're saying there's no reason for the mobilization because we've annexed them, that's interesting. I see what you're saying. I think what Justin is saying is, if Russia annexes this on Friday, then it's over. We won, right? You've still got Crimea, and you've got 4 new territories. You got the Donbass, which you wanted all this time, those 2 provinces in the east, Luhansk and Donetsk. You got them. You just announced that they're part of Russia now. Woo-hoo, it's over. That's an interesting concept there, right? And therefore, why would you need mobilization if that's the case? Sorry, I'm checking out my dog. My dog, of course, got a little bit sick this morning, since this is going to be like the tale of my life. She was eating dirt last night. I was going to kill her. And then what do you know? Eats this morning and immediately goes outside and gets sick. So she has not eaten or drunk anything since then, but I know her. So we're doing exactly what we did last time. Anyway, I've got the food regimen. Everything's ready, but she was walking by and I just wanted to check what she was doing. I'm keeping an eye on her. In any case, so that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but that could be it, Justin. That is interesting. You're right. If you annex it, then you've won. Why do you need to have a mobilization? The U.S. today urged all Americans, well, maybe all Americans, to leave Russia. In a very poorly worded press release, the U.S. Embassy in Moscow puts out a statement saying, hyphenated Americans, Russian American dual nationals, could find themselves in trouble in Russia as the situation gets worse. The Russian government may not recognize their American citizenship and may decide to draft them for the military. Then the next paragraph says something like, we advise all Americans to leave the country immediately. And that to me sounds like all Americans, not just dual nationals. But it was a bit odd because literally the first paragraph is about dual nationals getting drafted, and the second paragraph says we advise all Americans to leave. And you're going, okay, but I mean, if you mean all Americans, then why all Americans? Because you just explained why dual nationals should leave. Why should the other Americans leave? But they didn't explain. Nonetheless, that's what's going on. My suspicion is, because they did explain for the dual nationals that not only could you be drafted, but they also said it's very difficult to get out now. As we know, the lines at the border, several days long line, all that kind of stuff. Plane tickets are scarce. Plane tickets are expensive. So that would explain why the dual nationals have to leave. I think for American nationals, they're seeing things are getting worse, clearly. Putin is in a corner. Putin's boxed in. I'm guessing there's some intelligence just to that fact that Putin is feeling awfully cornered in, and that therefore He could strike out at American citizens there. He could hold them hostage. I mean, who knows, right? So who knows? I thought that was a little weird, though. Ben Hodges. So General Hodges is a former American general. This is, actually, let's see where we are on the list. This is Crimea, 0.5 on my list of topics. Hodges is really good, former American general. I believe he's the former American commander of the army in Europe, along with other people, obviously. Pretty recently, too, I think, like in the late 2000 teens, I mean. And he was doing an interview with Lithuania media outlet LRT and expressed great confidence in Ukraine's armed forces and their ability to liberate all of the Ukrainian territory occupied by Russia, and said, I hope that by the end of this year, Ukrainian forces will push Russian forces to the positions of February 23rd, meaning, pull up my little map here, meaning knocking out all of that pink area other than Crimea. So Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, Luhansk, all of those provinces sort of in the southeast would be recouped by Ukraine, and the only ones not recouped by Ukraine would be Crimea in the south, which is the territory that Russia stole back in 2014. He goes on, and that by the middle of next year, his hope, by the middle of next year, 2023, the Ukrainians will be in Crimea. Interesting. I mean, he had said apparently last week in Germany, we have reached the point of irreversible momentum for Ukraine. Talking about the Russians, he says they don't want to fight. They're exhausted and their logistics are exhausted. Even though he said, I hope, I think it's interesting because a general is not going to say, I hope about something that's an impossibility. He's just not going to do it, right? So he's not going to say, I hope the Ukrainians will have forced the Russians out of everywhere but Crimea by New Year's, but it's impossible for it to happen, right? So it sounds like he thinks it's a possibility, like a real possibility. That's interesting. Now, being in Crimea, the quote doesn't make clear if he means win Crimea or fighting in Crimea next year, meaning everything else is free and they're fighting in Crimea. Either way, I think that's interesting because it's interesting to see an American general giving that optimistic of an assessment. So, further mobilization. Oh, yeah. So the first mobilized Russian troops have arrived at the front line in Ukraine. Putin announced the mobilization a week ago today. And these poor first suckers are there already, which, by the way, proves that what Putin had claimed was a lie. Remember, Putin and the defense secretary came out and said, or the Kremlin came out and said that these new troops were going to get 2 weeks of training, which everyone said is insane that these guys are getting 2 weeks of training because some of them haven't been in the military in decades. And many of them we know aren't even former military. The Kremlin broke their rule on that. A number of folks who were not former military were getting drafted, even though they claimed only former military. They claimed students would be exempt. Students weren't exempt. They claimed, under Russian law, people who are infirm and sick can't go. They're sending them anyway. And I'm forgetting the last one. What was the last one? There was a last little one, too, they were doing that they were breaking their own rules. So listen to this. Institute for the Study of War had more on this. A mobilized service member of the 1st Tank Regiment. This is actually interesting on multiple levels. So a mobilized Russian service member of the 1st Tank Regiment of an unspecified unit recorded a video plea, and must have published it, stating that his unit will not receive training prior to deploying to Kherson Oblast on September 29th, which is tomorrow. Radio Free Liberty, Radio Europe's Mark Krutov geolocated the serviceman's surroundings using his video to the 2nd Guards Motor Rifles Division base in Kalinets, Moscow Oblast, just to verify this was a real Russian soldier. This is effed up. I mean, going with no training at all. They just called this poor guy up last week, and tomorrow they're getting deployed to Kherson. And Kherson is, once again, to show you on the map, Kherson is one of those, Kherson, look all the way down south. You'll see Crimea is that appendage all the way at the bottom of the map. That's Ukrainian, but the Russians occupy it. The next province up is Kherson. Kherson is the one where the Ukrainians have been bombing the bridges on the river, and for a while now, and the Russian troops, 20,000 Russian troops, are trapped on the other side of the river, totally away from all their other troops, and the Ukrainians, kind of have them trapped to a degree because they can't escape by crossing the bridge because the bridges have been pretty much destroyed. So if the Ukrainians are able to, well, I mean, they're not trapped yet, but if they had to evacuate, they couldn't, is the point. So if the Ukrainians keep coming down, eventually these guys are going to be in trouble. That's Kherson. Now, there's other parts of Kherson that are not trapped. Nonetheless, there's a lot of fighting going on there. This is a nightmare for these guys. I mean, absolute nightmare for these guys to be fighting with absolutely no training. I mean, I can't, and mind you, again, some guys in his unit probably are not former military as well. Clearly, even if he is former military, he's freaked out about not getting training. So clearly this guy himself is admitting that he's not ready to go. And mind you, the fact that these guys are doing videos and posting it, oh my God. I mean, first of all, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. He's going to be in a lot of trouble. But posting the video means these guys are freaking out. Absolutely freaking out. Sorry, I'm almost done actually, but let me see a couple of comments you guys are posting. If there's anything interesting. Kevin B is saying much of the military doesn't actually require training. Oh, I see what you mean. Moving supplies, building or securing barracks, digging trenches. Okay. I see what you mean. Right. So, well, if you're not fighting, the problem is the fighting men have got to be replaced because the fighting men are the ones most at need of being replaced, right? I mean, if you've simply been building barracks or digging trenches, okay, digging trenches sucks, but after 7 months of digging trenches, you're tired. Right? Or helping deliver goods, you're tired, but that's nothing like the guys that are actually fighting. The guys who are fighting have got to get time off. So they've got to be replaced by somebody, and they're getting replaced by people who don't have. I'm with you, but I still think this is not great. Well, Jamie, someday I'll get there. I promise. A lot of them will be tempted to loot. Well, that's true too. A lot of them will be tempted to loot or die when placed in the field. Yep. Well, this is funny. Rob, funny you should say that. One of the stories I was just getting to. Rob is saying if Ukrainians are able to and could focus on an attack on these new troops that might send a message back to these families, sent 1 week, sent back in a coffin the following week. Check this out. The Russians, Russia Today, RT, was freaking out today because this was freaking fabulous, because the chief of staff to Zelensky came out and called on Russian troops to, like the new Russian recruits, to turn themselves in or be killed. And Russia Today was complaining. And the article's about, the new chief of staff, or the chief of staff to Zelensky threatened to kill new reservists being sent to Ukraine. And it was like, yeah, it's a war. Like, what do you mean? These people just crack me up, but I love that. Like, he threatened to kill them, the animals, I mean, could you imagine World War II, the Soviet troops going, did you hear that, Nazi? The Nazis actually threatened to kill our troops on the battlefield. What a Nazi that man is. Anyway, it just cracked me up. At least 200,000 Russian men have already left the country in the last week, according to figures provided by Russia's neighbors, which is interesting. So it's adding up the tallies of who went to each country. And finally, a little bit of good news. Italy's far-right quasi-fascist new leader, Giorgia Meloni, pledged loyal support to Ukraine. And Meloni, who is poised to become Italy's first female prime minister and first fascist prime minister since World War II, vowed to support the cause of freedom for the Ukrainian people. So that was kind of cool. Very cool and important. So that was good. All right, that's it for the news today. New startup idea, mobile application, which drafts a Ukrainian soldier to surrender to. Oh, yeah, it's like Grindr, but for turning yourself in. You can scroll through, see which troops are in your area. Like, oh, he's a mile away. Yeah, but the guy that's 2 miles away, he's farther, but he's a lot cuter. Or he's nicer, will accept surrender without beating you. You got to go 5 miles to get that one, but he sounds nicer. That would be a great Saturday night. That would be a great comedy sketch, actually. Grinder for surrender. Actually, yes, instead of grinder, it would be called surrender. SURREND''R. Surrender. Because in America, I don't know if you guys have these around the country, but a lot of the sites here have got those names like Grinder, Tinder, and they're like often apostrophes. But yeah, surrender. Oh, I should be on SNL. Oh my God. Anyway, so yeah, let's do, well, you know what, guys? It's only us tonight. Since we don't have TikTok, I don't have the TikTok questions. So join me if either questions or what you want to talk about. We're doing this more informally since I don't have the TikTokers to worry about. We love our TikTokers, but sadly, TikTok was being evil tonight. Hi Marion, good to see you. Things have been very slow. The Ukraine, I was looking today at some of the troop movement stuff, and in Donetsk or Luhansk, so the far east of Ukraine, the Ukrainians are moving much more slowly. The Russians are putting up a better fight, it was saying. They're still moving slowly, which is good, but it's much more slowly than, the blitzkrieg they had a week and a half ago. In Kherson, I believe they're still moving forward a little bit, but it's slow. They're definitely not backtracking, but the Russians are still bombing. They bombed an airfield, but I'm forgetting where. I think it might have even been in Kherson that the Russians bombed an airfield and did good damage to it. The Ukrainian airfield. They also bombed that dam again. They're still going after that dam, which is sort of northeast Kherson. So, the clock app. That's what you mean by the clock app. Yeah. TikTok freaked out on me. Oh God. Saw a video on Reddit of a Russian conscript who died today. On his phone, they found a video of him celebrating his birthday together with his comrades yesterday. Oh God. That's sad. Again, sad, but, I just, oh, Wendy, look at you changing your name so I'm not totally confused. or didn't you change it? Were you using a different service? That's funny. Oh no, that's because it was the Discord. That's why. Right. You are somebody else here. That's funny. Or are you a different Wendy? Are you my Wendy or are you a different Wendy? See, now I'm all confused again. I'm not even going to go there. Totally confused. Yes, Poland banned the Pink Floyd concert. We know that. It's not just the manager who's pro-orc. It's like the artist, the guy. I think he was the artist that what's his name, who sent a letter to Mrs. Zelensky, basically blaming the Ukrainians for the Russians invading. Really bad. With no winter kit and bad logistics, I think a lot of Russians will die or have cold injuries. Andy, by winter kit, what do you mean? I'm assuming you mean winter supplies. So they would need like special coats. They would need long underwear. They would need thicker pants, thicker shirts, because like they've got short sleeve shirts for the summer. Is that what you mean? Like all the kind of supplies you'd have in the winter that you wouldn't have in the summer? Blankets. I will say one of the big problem the Russians have overall is their medical supplies are so bad, and the availability of medical help is really bad. I saw, an analysis at the beginning of the war. I don't remember the details, but I remember it more enough that the issue was that the first hour, I think it's called the golden hour or so. It's funny. Golden hour in photography is that hour at sunset, right before the sun sets, when everything becomes kind of gold and beautiful. There's another word for it in the military, whether it's the magic hour, the golden hour, whatever it is, but it's the hour after a soldier receives like a critical injury, an injury that can kill him, but will not necessarily kill him. That it's an injury that if you intervene, you can save his life. But if you don't intervene, it'll kill him. And that hour is crucial. And what they found was the Russians in Ukraine have been so bad about providing medical help and just providing like ambulances and everything else that far more soldiers were dying during that critical hour than should have been dying. In other words, a lot of the deaths the Russians were having were preventable deaths among their troops. So that's a whole other issue that'll only be made worse by this winter thing being thrown in there as well. Oh no, it's terrible. I mean, actually, you talk about the no fingers. That was actually an issue. That was an issue early on in the war. They were saying that the Russian troops that were the phone conversations being intercepted. One of the guys said, I remember this one specifically. He said, I went to the doctor, because they did have a doctor at least, because half the unit had frostbite on their feet. Half of his unit, half of the guys with him, had frostbite on the feet. I believe he said there were like 300 guys in his unit, or whatever the grouping was called. So 150 had frostbite, and the doctor had nothing to treat it with other than bandages, and he didn't even have enough bandages anyway for all the men, but had nothing to treat it with at all. Really bad. Vlad is doing well, Vincente. Vlad actually has been, because Vlad is, in addition to working with us, because obviously we're doing like fundraisers every few weeks with Vlad, but he's been working as a volunteer with Harkovu Mir, which is the nonprofit we've been working with in the Meals for Wheels nonprofit in Kharkiv. So he's been doing a lot of work with them anyway, full time. He actually sent me a number of pictures just the other day for fun, so to speak. I was like, oh, are these? He goes, no, they're just pictures of people we delivered food to this week. I thought you might want to see. I was like, oh, thank you. It was very cute. So they're continuing to deliver food to people in need. They did some work with the United Nations World Food Program that Vlad coordinated, because Vlad's English is very good, because Vlad works in English, as a tech guy. So they're using Vlad because Vlad's English is very good. Obviously 6 years at least of working, with American companies. So they were using Vlad to work with the World Food Program and others, and he sent me stuff of that too, like videos and photos of them delivering some of the World Food Program's food boxes and things like that. So he's good, but he actually, like I said, he had I think I told you guys a week ago, sorry, my allergies kicking in again. I'm going to have a pill as I'm talking to you, although these pills make me sleepy, but it's better than having an itchy head. We are going to do a new fundraiser, and I just need to sort of have the time to sit down with Vlad again and figure it out. Hold on. But it's a couple different things. But I think I told you guys this. One is a village north of Kharkiv in the Far East. And I went, don't get pissy with me, whoever it was that didn't like that my map doesn't have stuff on it. Kharkiv, you will see in the northeast of Ukraine. You'll see Kharkiv, Kharkiv. That's the second largest city in Ukraine, and 1.5 million people. And it is right near the Russian border, like 20 miles away, 15, 20 miles from the Russian border. Well, a couple miles north of Kharkiv, so on its way towards Russia, was occupied by the Russians. The Ukrainians were able to get it back, a couple months ago, but they still don't. And Vlad said this was months ago. This wasn't the newest counteroffensive. This was an earlier one. It's been free for a few months. They still don't have electricity. They do not have heat with the winter coming. They want to buy people clothes. They need to buy them medicine. He even sent me a picture of a makeshift stove that they're making in mass and selling over there. It's some kind of a steel or whatever it is, round. It's like this tall, kind of round, and has little vents coming out of it. I don't know how it works, but I think basically you put coals in the bottom of it or whatever, and it just emanates heat. And it's the kind of a portable heater that you could carry around that's relatively safe, but for homes that don't. Anyway, they were $25 or $50, maybe they were $25 each or something, and possibly doing a fundraiser for that. So anyway, he has a lot of ideas on what we can do next, but he has been working already doing a lot of other stuff. How do you reply to people on YouTube? It's very confusing. It depends what, because in this conversation we're having, this is its own freestanding live conversation. So you would simply write a comment, and I'm actually not sure. Would you just mention the person? I don't know whether there's a reply. You might just say, hey, Wendy, blah, 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 or something, you know what I mean, in response. Anyway, that's my suggestion for that. Talked about this yesterday. Apparently, let me see what else we got. I'm just sort of scrolling through your guys' stuff. Oh yeah, the tampon video I showed yesterday. Yep. And actually, I was a little more sympathetic on the tampon thing because Americans had told me that it's something we do too. That we actually recommend. We recommend troops use it because it's actually quite effective. You know, as a sort of makeshift. Oh, you know, I'm going to open my curtain. I always like to have my curtains open, but with the sun shining, it's always way too hot. But I can do it now that the sun is set. All right. Sorry about that. See, much better. I like having the windows open, but alas. Army having to bring their own supplies to war. That's very telling, but Ukrainians are still dying. Yeah, absolutely. Russians keep bombing their infrastructure. They keep trying. Beep, 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 beep. Yep, we used to carry tampons. They were used for gunshot wounds. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah, the number of the military folks were saying it's actually. So I mean, I think what made the Russian thing funny was they were telling these guys all the things they weren't getting, and she told them, she was like, "You're not going to be getting sleeping bags. You're not going to be getting anything." And these poor guys were just. It was funny too, actually, because I think these guys were initially they were sort of grabbing the supplies, and she's talking. I'd have to watch it again, but I'm pretty sure they're grabbing the supplies and she's talking. They're kind of ignoring her. And then she's kind of talking about this stuff and you hear the commotion die down and then they're all watching her because she's literally going, "You're getting nothing. You're not going to have a sleeping bag. You're not going to have a medical kit." I mean, they're kind of like tourniquets. One guy goes, "Yeah, I couldn't find tourniquets anywhere." She goes, "You're not going to find tourniquets." It was just like, oh my God. It was really scary. I mean, really scary. That's interesting. Ashley's saying, yeah, I've taught some preparedness classes and have told my students to carry tampons for that reason. Yeah. I do have a nice view. Not as good as my old view. What do you do? Susan Krauthamel. Airplane tickets are going for $5,000 out of Russia. A friend from Russia told you with his whole savings. Yeah. I mean, who's got $5,000 in cash? You know? I mean, Jesus. Oh, this is how you can respond to somebody in the YouTube comments in terms of this free flowing discussion we're having. You can place an asterisk and then no spaces of their name. Rob, you're missing a word here and it's making it hard. Place an asterisk and then no spaces after their name. Okay, Rob, I have no idea. An asterisk? Oh, you just mean what you did. Oh, you just mean what you did to me. Just at John Aravosis. So whatever the name is. Yeah. So if it's at Kevin B, the only problem is you have to be able to see how their name is written out. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, you can see how they're doing it with me or others. Oh, that's interesting, Jillian. An ex-military guy that also worked for NATO said tampons were a bad idea and not recommended anymore. Does anybody know why? I know it's my golden hour, but it's the good one that nobody's dying. Anybody know why they're considered a bad idea now? I'm curious. The medic, John, hey, John. The medic advises as a last resort on the tampons, the troops are getting IFAKs. Now, the IFAKs are the infantry or the first aid kits, whatever they're called, but sort of a good military first aid kit. Well, that's the Ukrainian troops, you mean, not the Russian troops. British Army. Yeah. Yeah, we have window washers who come, but still, it's not fun. I'm just wearing, when in colder weather, I get to wear my nice little jacket I got in France years ago that I love. It's my wear a jacket when I want to wear a jacket, but not wear a jacket kind of thing. It makes me happy. It's my Paris jacket. But yeah, in colder weather, I can wear it for the show, which is nice. Yep, Ukrainian troops are getting IFAKs. That's what I thought. People don't know their basic first aid. Honestly, I don't know if I remember my basic first aid anymore, Wendy. You know what I mean? It's been so long. Actually, even worse, like I haven't been trained in decades on how to do CPR. And I mean, I remember, but I think it's changed, which is a little confusing because now it's got me like, is what I remember still okay? You know what I mean? Because I was taught like if you've got a partner helping you, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, breath, 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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, breath, breath. I think. See, now I'm already forgetting. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, no, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 breath. That's what I was taught. And then if you're doing it yourself with someone, it's 15 in a row and then breath, breath, and then 15 more. But I was hearing like now they're even saying if you're alone doing it, maybe you don't even do breaths. You just keep the compressions on the heart because there's enough oxygen in the system. But it's got me like scared the way this stuff changed. And they don't, none of that. Like, you know, who's going to update you on CPR? I actually Googled on, I thought it was American Red Cross or somebody, and I found their CPR instructions horrific. I remember a couple of years ago looking it up, and I was like, it was just sort of this, well, if you're this, if you're this, if you're this, if you're this, if you're this. And I was like, I have no idea. It was too many options. Some, you know, not smart anyway. It has to do with tampons absorbing but not stopping the bleeding. Oh, that's interesting. So like the tampons might even also, I wonder if the tampons would take even more blood out of the wound or something. That's scary. Yeah, drawing out the blood. That's what I was wondering. Wow. Okay, now you're all scaring me on tampons too, although I don't keep them around for medical stuff, but now I'm not sure I want to. Yeah, bring your own medicine and sleeping bags. That was the screwy thing. Okay, and that's where John Hoover was saying at least the Ukrainians are actually getting their medical kits, which is good. It sucks too much blood. Wow, that's scary. Okay, drawing blood out of the wound. Yeah. Well, the other thing too is who knows? Any case, that's really scary. They draw blood out. Oh God. So this woman's telling these guys to do something that's probably going to get them killed just to add to the horror of the whole scene. Tampon cannot provide the surface area or the pressure required to control massive bleeding. Tampons absorb blood, but they don't provide any hemostatic assistance. Well, actually, maybe that's a possibility too, is if you didn't have a tampon and this guy was gushing blood, you use your hand to try to stop it, at least. You'd put pressure on the wound. By putting the tampon, you might think, well, I jammed the tampon in. Let's go work on the next guy or whatever. Maybe. You know? Infectious fibers. Okay. All right. Clearly, this is not something any of us should do. So, fibers getting in the wound and causing toxic shock. Jesus. Okay. Wow. Here we go. Okay, Amanda, don't do mouth breaths anymore. Just chest compressions to the beat of Staying Alive. Oh, I know Staying Alive. I did see that on Grey's Anatomy, which actually brilliant of Grey's Anatomy to do that because that's how I learned it. Yeah. And it stayed in my head like, Okay, so don't do breaths anymore. Now, what if there's two of you doing CPR? Make sure whoever answers this knows their medical stuff inside out, obviously. But if there's two of you doing CPR, do you still not do breaths? Because I was taught it would literally be 3, 4, 5 breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 breath. So even for two, what is used? Celox A, which is an injection blood clotting agent. Well, that's if you've got it, John, right? That's the whole point. These guys don't have anything, you know? You can take a quick course for $15. I will do soon for coaching. Honestly, it'd be nice. And frankly, it ought to be free. You know, the government ought to be like paying nonprofits to teach people this again. Because when we were kids, they taught us all this stuff, you know? Also, Heimlich maneuver. And I don't even know, like, do you still bang people on the back first? And do you still, I'd be even more worried about that now. Just keep the blood moving. All right. So picture Russian conscripts in Sevastopol today, mostly men in their 50s. Dear Lord. Oh, that's just scary. Well, Marion, people are saying it's bad though, the tampon thing. So I don't know. The CPR method now is no breaths and to pump the chest to the beat of Staying Alive from the Bee Gees. But again, if there's two of you, you still don't do breaths. Wow. Oh, wow, Amanda. That's amazing. T-shirt and a stick is best if no tourniquets are available. Okay. Okay. Very interesting. Sorry, looking here at the rest of they changed mouth to mouth, even to mouth to nose decades ago. Oh, that's interesting. Well, and the other thing too is who knows? I mean, maybe with everybody, especially now with everybody freaked out about COVID, if it was mouth to mouth, people wouldn't even do it. They wouldn't know you could do it without breaths. They might be like, oh, CPR, that's with breaths. I'm not doing that. Rather than, oh, no. CPR is just chest compressions, which is safe for everybody. Interesting. Oh. No. Did anyone see the video of a Russian soldier trying to access his tourniquet that was zip tied to his vest? He couldn't get it off the vest. Oh no. Was he dying or something? I mean, was the guy actually injured? That's horrible. I mean, again, I don't want, I'm all for the Ukrainians, but still, that's kind of scary. 30 compressions to 2 breaths. Yeah, but now we're getting all sorts of different stuff here, but okay. Just partner with each other for chest compressions. Okay. Well, I guess that's true too, because that way you both can keep going. Yeah. All right. I mean, that's good to know. That certainly makes it easier. That's way easier. Yeah. I looked up this stuff online. It was horrific. I think it was the Red Cross or somebody. It was absolutely horrific, the online instruction. Horrific. It was all sorts of possibility. It was only a couple of years ago, but it was all sorts of, well, if this, then that, but if this, then that, but if this, then that. And I was going, oh my God, like not even, although now I'm wondering if it was I was looking at CPR, but I was looking at Heimlich as well. All I know is one of them was so confusing that I gave up. This is better to know if it's just staying alive and chest compressions. That's easy. They were told no breaths. Okay. Son just assumed it was because of COVID. Okay. All right. We got it. Oh, interesting. Oh, I see. So the Norwegians are taught differently. That's okay. All right. All right. We're over time. I'm just going to finish looking at what you guys are posting here. And then maybe, like I said, we'll go and we can hang out a few minutes over on Discord. God, TikTok pisses me off. No worry. The air we breathe is 21% oxygen. The air we breathe out still is 16%. That's enough. Not all gas gets exchanged by our breath. Oh, I see. Interesting. Super chats are on, although maybe they're not working. Although you had that problem before, Mary, and I think they hate you. They just don't want you to help me. They should be on. They're supposed to be on. Yeah. Yeah, because I think there was a question from somebody. I'm pretty sure. Blood is oxygenated. Yeah, there was. No recap. Oh, I did forget the recap. Okay. I liked Lord of the Rings, by the way. I'm enjoying it. The new Lord of the Rings, the new Ring of Power. I was going to call it House of Ring. Ring of Power. Susan. Okay, Susan's going to giving us definitive. I'm a CPR instructor and used it many times. Compression is the most important. I even have done care on a dog. CPR on a dog, and it worked. Oh my God. Wow. Jesus, that's amazing. Wow. Okay, Annette, have a good night. House of the Dragon, exactly. House of Dragon's been good, although I will say this: I got bored. We can close it up in a second. I got bored with House of Dragon this week, and that never happened during Game of Thrones. It was so freaking slow. I mean, no spoilers or anything here. It was so slow that I was like, okay, this is not like, and they better get a character on that show that's pleasant sometime soon, because that's something Game of Thrones had. Game of Thrones, you had all the Starks, and what's her face was a bit snooty, but otherwise you liked the Starks, right? Oh, there you are, Mary. Marion, right? But who do you like on no House of Dragon? Like I said, I got bored this week. It was just the writing was not good. I was not thrilled. Are recruits only being sent to annexing areas or elsewhere too? Don't know. I mean, we saw that one report I was mentioning earlier. There was one report. Oh God, Marion, this was wild. A newly minted Russian soldier gets mobilized last week, does a video and puts it public from near Moscow because our guys geolocated it to be real, apparently, Radio Free Europe. And he is a Russian soldier doing a video that says, I just got mobilized. They're not giving us any training. And tomorrow they're sending us to Kherson. So he's going to the front or close enough to the front with no training whatsoever. So, Tolkien is Lord of the Ring and Hobbit was pretty good. Lord of the Ring was very good. Lord of the Ring, Lord of the Dance. I'm thinking Lord of the Ring. No, but Lord of the Rings I thought was an excellent read. I just made my nephew buy it. Yep, still waiting to hear back from Sign My Rocket. I may just send them a message just to tweak them a little bit, but it's clearly this guy and a couple friends doing it. They did do the NAFO one, for NAFO. So, fingers crossed he does ours. As I said, they at least sent me a receipt. So at least I have proof, which is good, that I sent the money for you guys. But also if the IRS ever checks, I can be like, that money is gone. It ain't mine. But, we'll see. We'll see. Anyway. Oops. Anyway, guys, we could just hang here for a few more minutes. I don't care. And not go to Discord tonight. Same difference, because here at least we got the video. We can do that too. Oh, I'm still so ticked that TikTok did that to me today, but that's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Oh yeah, I can do the recap since Marion missed it. Marion, what do you got, a job? Miss Colorado? All right, let me do the updates. So the Biden administration today announced 18 more HIMARS are going to Ukraine in addition to the 16 we sent already and the 11 MLRS systems that are already there, multiple launch rocket systems. The only thing is, I read another article that said they were going to be arriving over the next 2 years. So not quite clear what the story is there. Jingle Bells is asking about TikTok if somebody wants to explain what I explained earlier. With the pipeline, actually, Jingle, you won't be able to see the answer because you're on Twitch. So basically, I started the live on TikTok with all of you guys, and TikTok gave me some weird error message. So I stopped and started again. And then that was the end of that. TikTok considered it as though I already did my live and it was over. So there was no way to start the live. So TikTok had issues today, unfortunately, but that's the breaks. Oh, also, let me start by saying, so I was telling everybody, Marion, you included, that Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, US, 3 p.m. Pacific, I'm going to be having a professor from Colgate University on who is an Irani expert. I believe he's Iranian American himself, and is going to be talking to us about the uprising, the historical basis of it, but meaning going back 100 years, because he's got his own sort of theories of where all this is and where it's heading, because previous uprisings did not go well. And I think he thinks there's increasing danger of this all. Basically, he's worried about Iran falling apart eventually, a la Syria, potentially. And that would be really bad for everybody. So he's going to be really interesting. He's going to be joining us Saturday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, US. I've already set that up on TikTok. Haha. And on YouTube and everywhere else. So everywhere that gives you advance notice, it's there already. So if you see it, register now so you don't forget, or put it in your calendar, but it should be good. Schedule 2 lives for 5 minutes apart. It doesn't work that way, Ashley. Once I go, because this is being beamed out everywhere. So, I see what you're saying. I don't think it's not going to let me schedule overlapping lives. I'm sure it wouldn't. I don't think it would. I can't imagine. And I don't want then TikTok to then have lives that I don't show up on. God only knows what the TikTok gods would do to me then. In any case, pipeline, I did a long discussion on the pipelines getting blown up and Russia basically being responsible and why I think Russia did it. Certainly the Russian trolls are all over it, blaming America and Poland, which only makes me think all the more that Russia did it. And a number of the Europeans think Russia did it too. There's concern that the damage needs to be fixed immediately or salt water is going to get inside and corrode the pipes, and then the pipes are destroyed. Sham election in the occupied territories in Ukraine. The results, the Russians claim, are between 87 to 99% in favor of joining Russia. Yay! Interestingly, Medusa, which is a reputable independent news outlet in Russia, is saying that the annexation is going to be delayed for a while because of the public relations effect on the Russian population, which has been dissatisfied with the mobilization. I don't know. Again, like I said, I don't know how I would think that would be a positive for the Russian people, unless Putin was afraid we annex it and then the Ukrainians kick us out. Then it looks like the Ukrainians kicked us out of Russia, which looks like an even bigger fail. The U.S. appeared to urge all Americans out of Russia today, but it was such a shittily written announcement that it wasn't terribly clear what they were saying. Former U.S. General Ben Hodges says that he hopes the Ukrainians will get back all of their territory by the end of the year and that they could be fighting in Crimea next year. With the mobilization, I just talked about Russian troops, many of them not getting any training at all, and the first ones already appearing on the front line. As I yawn when my allergy pill's kicking in, at least 200,000 Russians have already left the country in the last week. Russia Today, one of their propaganda outlets, is complaining that the Ukrainian chief of staff to Zelensky said that if the new Russian recruits don't turn themselves into Ukrainians, the Ukrainians are going to kill them. And RT did a big story. I have to show this again because it just made me laugh. This whole story about how basically it was so mean. They didn't say mean, but that's the implication is it's outrageous. They're saying that they're going to, on the battlefield, they're going to try to kill them. It's like, okay, Russia, whatever floats your boat. And then finally, Italy's far-right leader, aka kind of fascist leader, Giorgia Meloni, pledged loyal support to Ukraine today, which was actually good. And Zelensky tweeted her, and I'm guessing Zelensky probably reached out privately because it's important. It's important. So, yeah, I got a guest that was in Ukraine a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. What? Who was that? I forgot. Whoever it was who just asked that. Actually, I had Vlad at the very beginning, and then we had the reporter who was on the ground 2 weeks ago. Yep. So I will have more, but that was pretty good already. Lend-Lease. I don't know whether I could do a refresher video on Lend-Lease because honestly, the explanation of it is horrible. The stuff I found online, even when the damn thing passed, I couldn't find a good explainer as to how the hell it actually works. I can look. Tom Munch, exactly. I can look, but let me see if I can find anything that explains it well, because honestly, I would have to refresh myself on how exactly it works. I mean, I'm guessing it's lending the equipment to Ukraine or they pay it off. I don't even know. I mean, but as I said, the explainers that were out there were terrible. Oh yeah, is my allergy pill kicking in? Ooh la la. All right, and the missus is still resting in her bed, I think. Yes, she's okay, but she's not tried to eat. Normally, she's pestering me from 4 o'clock on to eat, and it's already 7 o'clock here because she was not feeling well this morning because someone thought it would be a neat idea to eat dirt out of my plant last night, and lo and behold, it made her sick. Big surprise there, Yeah, Ashley, I'll look. Well, it doesn't, I mean, Well, that's true. I didn't think of that. I guess that's true. I could have just started. I always forget that on TikTok. Yeah, I was spacing out today. You're right. On TikTok, because we don't have a guest, I could have just started TikTok again myself, and I forgot about that. That's true. Yeah. When there's a guest, there's no way to do it. When it's just us, instead of it beaming, I can just start TikTok myself by hand, and you don't get all the things on the screen, but big deal. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. I spaced out. Um, if they God, Felix, I hope not. That would be kind of rude. Felix says, I mean, maybe he's right, but isn't Lend-Lease just that Ukraine gets System X, and if it gets destroyed, they have to pay for it? It's the Pottery Barn rule. Oh, God, that's funny. I like it. All right, Ukraine, we're giving you the HIMARS, but if you break it, you're paying for it. We're we're Ukraine's mother. Don't play. Vladimir, how many times have I told you not to play with the HIMARS? Oh God. Okay, Syndicate or the newly branded Who's Syndicate? Who's Syndicate? It's free under the Lend-Lease deal. You really think any country is going to ask Ukraine to pay for the military equipment? Well, the only thing is, I think it's meant to be like, right, you got to go back to the original. I think it's meant to be like a lend, like that we get it back or something in the end. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. Oh gosh. We might write it off. I mean, the problem is Ukraine's going to have so much debt, obviously, after the war, you know? Yeah, deposits. And there'll be deposits on it. Yeah, exactly. And we don't take American Express. All right, guys. Ugh, my allergies are kicking in worse. I can tell when my eyes start going. All right, I'm going to go because like I said, my allergy pill is now kicking in full blast. That's why I didn't take it at the beginning of the show, because it helps the itching, but then it makes me all sleepy. All right, guys. I'll be back tomorrow, and yeah, if TikTok freaks out again, I will just turn it on. I guess I was so flustered by it being off and so pissed off that I just sort of wasn't thinking. Just turn it on. Oh, see, and I've got my wonderful little lights that go on the balcony that turn on automatically at night. It's very nice. Now, my apartment is great, like for chilling out at night. I like it. So it makes me happy. I turn on the TV and I just veg. So, all right, guys. Oh my God, literally my eyes are just going. All right. Oh, well, thank you, everybody. This is good. Oh my God, stop. All right. See you guys tomorrow at 6 p.m. All right. 6 p.m. Eastern. You know the drill. All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Sorry, TikTok. Burp, 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 burp.